Today I'm going to be talking about the invisible threat of microplastics harming our bodies. Did you know the average amount of microplastics consumed weekly is about the amount that makes up a credit card? Most of you have drinking out of plastic water bottles or quickly heated up a bag of food in the microwave, not realizing the microplastics that get in the food or drink. My goal today is to help people stay healthy and take action to get rid of microplastics from being ingested. First, we will go over the damage that these invisible microplastics are doing to our bodies. Then we will go over the packaging rules the FDA needs to have to stop microplastics, as well as the things we can do to prevent them. Finally, we will visualize and explain how this can affect our future if nothing is done. This leads into what the problem really is and how it affects our body. Microplastics are affecting our blood vessels, which is accelerating cardiovascular disease. According to the UC Riverside News, it states, microplastics may directly contribute to cardiovascular disease, not just correlate with it. Dr. Zoe of UC Riverside study confirmed that there was cellular damage, stating we found endothelial cells, which are the immune system cells, were the most affected by microplastic exposure. Since endothelial cells are the first to encounter circulating microplastics, their dysfunction can initiate inflammation and plaque formation, which is inside the blood vessels. Another problem was nanoplastics entering our cells, causing damage to tissues and organs. UNM Health Science News states researchers have found microplastics in human brains and at much higher concentrations than at other organs. Worse, the plastic accumulation appears to be growing over time, having increased by 50% over just the past 8 years. This goes deeper with the National Library of Medicine website, stating both in vitro and in vivo evidence demonstrated that nanoplastics exposure induces oxidative stress, cytokine imbalance, and activation of pro-inflammatory pathways, resulting in tissue-specific cellular damage across multiple organs. Now that we know how dangerous these microplastics are to our bodies, we can now look at the different ways on how to prevent them. I think I just skipped a slide. Whoopsies. There we go. Sorry about that. The FDA needs to make the standards for food safety include plastic-free packaging. The solution starts first by the FDA needing to update their outdated safety protocols. The FDA has the power to stop companies from using cheap, no-good plastics, and they need to force these companies to use materials like glass, aluminum, and plant-based materials that don't melt into our meals. This is further explained by Dr. Matthew Campins, who is the lead scientist of the UNM team, where he looks at the food packaging we have. UNM Health Sciences News states he suspects that the most of the microplastics in the body are ingested through food, and the rate of accumulation mirrors the increasing amount of plastic waste on this planet. Another way to prevent this is by taking issues into our own hands and creating habits to avoid damage from microplastics. The researchers of the UC Riverside Cardiovascular Study News states the best strategy is to reduce exposure by limiting plastic use in food and water containers, reducing single-use plastics, and avoiding high-processed foods. Not only do they recommend what to avoid and how to reduce exposure, but they also dive deeper into personal habit changes, stating there are currently no effective ways to remove microplastics from the body, so minimizing exposure and maintaining overall cardiovascular health through diet, exercise, and managing risk factors remain essential. Seeing these different ways we can solve the issue of microplastics allows us to picture what the future can look like. Leading into our next topic. If microplastics continue to be used for food materials, it will cause health issues and illnesses to people of this generation. If we ignore this, the UNM Health Science News states that brain tissues from people who had been diagnosed with dementia had up to 10 times the amount of microplastics in their brains than anyone else, meaning that the damage from long-term microplastics can cause severe damage and affect many in the future. Additionally, the National Library of Medicine website explains more issues that would come along the way, stating that it disrupts immune function, potentially triggering inflammatory and autoimmune conditions. On the other hand, if the FDA forces companies to not use leaching materials, it reduces the damage caused by microplastics. Getting rid of these leaching materials, we actually keep our bodies healthy, following the UC Riverside News, which states minimizing exposure remains essential again. Getting the FDA to stop these companies from using these materials prevents the microplastics from causing any more damage. Further showing the amount of microplastics that enter our body from foods is over 40%. That's a lot. If we stop these companies from using those materials, we help to take out a major role in the microplastic damage. Microplastics aren't just a small problem anymore. These microplastics are attacking our brain, our heart, and our immune system, causing health problems to more and more people each day. We must prevent these by getting the FDA to not approve these leaching materials in foods and containers, as well as creating our own habits to prevent them from entering our bodies. The best thing for you guys to prevent digestion of microplastics is to not microwave plastics like bags or food or containers. Switch to a glass or metal water bottle to stay hydrated instead of plastic water bottles, and support the change in packaging safety standards. What's shocking is that we spend so much time thinking about the foods and the nutritional benefits and how the quality of the water is, but never spend the time to think about the containers they come in and how that affects our bodies as well. The future that is healthy can only happen if we do something about it. Let's look at how we can make this future a reality. Thank you for listening.